Last season, Bradley Holly secured the championship with an impressive 6 wins out of 10 races, but was hotly contested by a charging Daniel Knight who was only 2 wins away from the championship himself. As we kick off a new season and the drivers contend for the yearly championship as well, will anyone be able to dethrone Holly? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the season opener of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series, sponsored by WEBB Hearing Centers, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Adam Lindgren, and joining me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Our director tonight will be Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. The truckers start off the season on a relatively new NASCAR standard, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, a high-banked and challenging mile-and-a-half circuit. And to find out what makes the trucks tick around here, let's take you down to our track guide.
Welcome to Sin City and Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The sprawling motorsports complex, located 20 minutes northeast of the Strip, is home to some of the nicest racing facilities in the nation. Known as the Diamond in the Desert, the crown jewel of this facility is the 1.5-mile D-shaped oval constructed in 1996. In 2006, LVMS underwent massive changes, upping the banking in the corners from 12 to 20 degrees and installing progressive banking in the process. The result? One of the most competitive stock car circuits on the iRacing service. Vegas races like a mini restrictor plate track now, with stock cars and trucks alike often spread 2 and 3 wide, several rows deep, several laps into a tire run. The D-shaped front stretch allows for side-by-side racing action to continue down onto the apron as well, and both corners provide equal opportunity to set up a run on the top side or dive down under an opponent on the bottom. Starts and restarts here are especially action-packed, truly one of the most diverse ovals on the iRacing service. In 2018, NASCAR added a second Cup Series date to this track, giving the facility a pair of triple-header weekends with Cup cars, Xfinity, and trucks all competing. Well, that's our look at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's time to roll the dice. Enjoy the show.
There you saw a couple of laps around Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit more about this track?
Well, this somewhat recently reconfigured 1.5-mile D-shaped tri-oval located just off of the Nellis Air Force Base outside of Las Vegas. It's a pretty high-banked track, a quote-unquote cookie-cutter track, as some of these have been known to be called. The high banking here and the engine configuration on these trucks are basically going to have these guys flat out for the majority of the lap. It's going to be a interesting bit of gamesmanship here. The momentum, as always, is going to be playing a huge role in who can keep those trucks wound up. Will have the best opportunities to pass.
Absolutely, and the best opportunities for you to grab some hearing aids is from WEBB Hearing Centers. They are our series sponsor for this season. They are family owned and operated since 1972, and they offer top quality hearing aids and service in Arizona. Visit them at webbhearingcenters.com. That is web with 2 B's, hearingcenters.com. And Chris, why don't you tell us about the league sponsor?
And our league sponsor is the ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Visit thebuttkicker.com today and view their full line of products.
And let's take a look at the championship standings from last season. As mentioned in the pre-race, Bradley Holly took home the win of the championship, 29 points over Daniel Knight, after dominating the last 2 rounds of the championship. Daniel Knight, who was very close, came just short, and Thomas Sink dropped off a little bit towards the end of the season as well, coming home in 3rd. Brendan Chatley rounding out that 4th position, 71 points behind the leader, and then comes Tristan Callahan, who's not racing with us this season, who came home in 5th. Chris, what about the teams?
Team's championship was a bit decisive as well, with the Jelly Rolls Racing team from the WEBB squad setting the mark with 809 points. Just 66 off was the Back Row Racing squad, followed by the Riding Ranger Shotgun team, 89 points back. Then 104 back was Car Ramrod, and the Rescue Racing Camo Rescue team completed the top 5.
And a new thing for this year that has been going on in the background, but it's time to mention it now. It is the Webb Hearing Center's PRL 2020 Wednesday Truck Playoff Championship. And that graphic that you're seeing on your screen is an amazing one. We have a round of 16. They will eliminate 4 drivers and move to a round of 12 after 3 rounds. So, as they run, it's Bradley Holly, Thomas Sink, and Daniel Knight as the top 3. But the ones you want to keep your eyes on are from Austin Hunter on down. These are the drivers that are at threat from being eliminated. Austin Hunter, John LaBaff, Blaine Adams, and Nicholas Hunter are all within 4 points of the cutoff point, whereas Mike Richter, Adam Young, Brett Adams, and Adam Shane are all in the cutoff zone. Those are the 4 drivers currently at risk of being cut off. So we will likely see a lot of those drivers really fighting for positions here in these opening rounds, as they do not want to be removed from that championship opportunity that they will have at the final race of the season. All right, Chris, why don't you tell us about the race that's going on tonight, though?
Yep, opening event for this round. It's round 1 of 10 using the NASCAR Gander RV and Outdoor Truck Series machines. These drivers will be going 85 laps or 1 hour, whichever comes first. It's a 24 incident cap with just 3 sets of tires allowed. So these drivers will have to be responsible with their rubber out there, and these guys have no spare truck at their disposal, so they'll have to be careful as they traverse this Las Vegas oval.
Yeah, Chris, this oval is very fast and very high banked with that progressive banking that comes up from the bottom of the track at 12 degrees up to the top at 20. And that's going to make things very interesting, especially when they get to battling on this nighttime race tonight.
Progressive banking really does add a lot to the racing. It's really a smart way of doing things to have the different levels, because it opens up the second and third grooves here and really allows for some great side-by-side racing.
All right, so we're about to wrap up practice. Doyle Lawrence actually ends up being our top practice runner. Now, most of these times are in the draft, and the reason I say the draft is because of the progressive banking. These drivers can run flat out for most of their laps around here under green, so that's going to give these drivers a great opportunity at sticking with the drivers ahead of them. But now that we go into qualifying, it is 2 laps of lone qualifying. That means they are alone on the track, but they do run simultaneously, but they're in their own little practice session by themselves. And so we will catch up with the drivers as they start to head out. A couple of drivers who are starting now being Daniel Knight in the 17 machine. Doug Evans in the 41 has also gotten going, and John LaBaff in the 911, as we look at Daniel Knight in that 17 as he's going to start off and try and get his first laps down.
For those of you following along at home, GSRC.TV with all of your live timing and scoring updates will help you keep track of these times as they start to come in hot and heavy with multiple drivers qualifying simultaneously. It really helps you follow along at home.
Yeah, and you might want to keep your eye on those drivers in the championship standings, especially Adam Young, Brett Adams, Adam Shane, and Mike Richter, who are in that cutoff zone. We'll keep our eyes on them as much as we can, but you can keep your eyes on them as well at GSRC.TV. So, as we see Daniel Knight coming around onto the backstretch, it's a long way to go at a 1.5 mile track to get started with these flying laps.
That's right, and the Nellis straightaway, named for the adjacent Nellis Air Force Base, home of the United States Air Force Thunderbirds, Adam. It's one of the really cool squadrons they have there, as John LaBaff sets the mark with a 31.374, and that's already quickly overtaken by a couple drivers. Doug Evans right now sitting on top of the charts.
Yeah, Doug Evans and Doyle Lawrence fast in practice and are fast now on the single lap pace as well. Doyle Lawrence up there. Baron Hilton coming around, starting his first flying lap. So quite a few of the drivers just getting those first laps under their belts right now. Daniel Knight, who was our second place challenger in the championship last season, currently in 7th. Brandon Walter comes around, sets a 31.275. But Daniel Knight crosses the line on his second lap and goes to provisional pole. Fastest lap of 31.145.
Very quick lap as we see Brandon Sauls getting on the clocks right now. Colton Lane coming down to set his first lap time of 31.343.
It's awesome to see some faces that we've seen in other PRL series join us here for the trucks. Abner Acosta being one, currently holding provisional pole up in the lead with a 31.118. That's about three 100s faster than Daniel Knight at the moment. Jose Medina going around fast enough to get 6th place with a 31.211, and Matthew Kulnick coming around to start his first flying lap, it appears.
Definitely cool to see a lot of new names popping up in this series. Names that those of you that follow along with the other GSRC series will be familiar with. So definitely adding to the already stout competition here in the PRL.
Adam Shane, one of those drivers at risk of being in the cutoff zone. He's currently 6 points behind in the playoff potential for making the cutoff. He just started his first flying lap. Matthew Kulnick about to finish his first flying lap. It's going to be a 31.489, and for Kulnick, that's only going to be unfortunately good enough to put him further back in the pack. Adam Shane coming around to finish his first flying lap. Let's see whether or not he's going to be in a position to have some decent track position tonight. Crosses the line with a 31.327. That's good enough for 21st.
Yeah, still a few drivers yet to get a pretty solid lap in, Adam.
Yeah, believe it or not, Bradley Holly's first lap, our last year's championship contender, championship winner rather, was only good enough for 33rd position at 31.748. So he's at risk of losing some track position here if he doesn't get that second lap going. But he's coming out around the 4th corner now, coming on to the backstretch as we see Richard Regan Jr. coming across the line. He will set his first flying lap. That's going to be a 31.179, and Bradley Holly finishes with a 31.181, only good enough for 9th at the start of this race. So Bradley Holly will not be on pole tonight.
Here comes Thomas Sink down to set his time, a 31.184. Pretty solid last time there.
Good enough for 11th position, and unfortunately Paul Williams has hit the outside wall on the exit on his first flying lap. Richard Regan Jr. looking to improve from a 31.177, comes across with a 31.156, good enough for 3rd position. So a very interesting front row we're going to have here. Paul Williams has hit that wall. You can see him slow on the track. He's going to cross the line and set a very unrepresentative first lap time, and I believe that's going to be everybody in qualifying with 3 seconds to go. So that's going to take us to the grid. And our first pole of the season goes to Abner Acosta, starting off on the top of the grid with Daniel Knight starting off in 2nd. Richard Regan Jr. is going to start off the 2nd row with Doug Evans on his outside. 3rd row being started off with Brett Adams in 5th. Mike Richter is going to start off in 6th position with Paul Johnson starting off in 7th and Brandon Walter in 8th spot. Bradley Holly qualifies all the way back in 9th starting position next to Doyle Lawrence, who led out our practice sessions.
Outside of the top 10, another former race winner in Thomas Sink with Mark Kalin to his outside. Adam Young is lucky number 13 on the grid with Colton Lane outside of him in row number 7. Row number 8 is going to see Jose Medina on the outside with Adam Shane starting to his right, with Austin Hunter and Adam Zemke composing row number 9, and then Christopher Williams and Dominic Beijing completing your top 20.
Danny Cervantes starts off in 21st, along with Josue Telez running that number 1 truck tonight. Brendan Chatley's going to start off in 23rd, but Nicholas Shorts in 24th. Row 13 is going to be composed of Charles Subner in 25th position, and Patrick Cowgill starting off in 26th. Good to see Patrick make it out to the truck series, with Michael Lemieux starting off in 27th position, and Brandon Sauls in 28th. The top 30 are going to be rounded out by John LeBaff in 29th, and Matthew Kulnick in 30th.
And outside of our 30 top starters is going to be Greg Corzin in 31st with Baron Hilton outside of him. Stacy Hunter and Kenny Rodriguez in row 17. Ryan Traver and Nicholas Hunter will be in the 18th row, and then 2 drivers not able to set a time. Paul Williams and Matthew Aubrey complete the field.
Well, Chris, it's going to be a very tense race tonight, especially with such a large field. This is the largest field we've seen in the truck series in quite a while, and with some new names up in the front. What are your predictions heading into turn 1?
Well, I think things are going to be a bit unpredictable. Like you mentioned, a lot of new names, a lot of new elements into the series today. And I think with that and such a large field, I think we're in for maybe a couple surprises. Bradley Holly starting a bit deeper in the field definitely opens things up here for a 85 lap or 1 hour endeavor here in the desert.
It's going to make things very interesting. Also very interesting is where some of our where our championship leaders are starting, rather. You can keep your eyes on where our championship leaders are starting in the GSRC.TV app. We got that. Just load up GSRC.TV into your browser, and you'll see all the live timing and scoring there. You can keep track of the favorite drivers and those who are at risk of being dropped at the end of the third round. So Bradley Holly getting, well, rather Abner Acosta. I'm just not used to seeing someone else than Bradley Holly lead off a race here. But Abner Acosta is going to lead them to the line. The pace car is going to pull off, and Abner will lead the field. He's going to wait quite a while with the 17 of Daniel Knight on his outside. Abner waiting even beyond the start-finish line, and he's going to go. He goes quite late, and that's going to allow Daniel Knight to have a great opportunity on the outside. Abner Acosta having Richard Riga Jr. tucked in behind him is going to be able to push him through turns 1 and 2. Daniel Knight on the high side. Looks like it's a pretty clean start here for the PRL NASCAR Truck Series on Wednesday nights.
Great start by Acosta as the 46 of Richard Regan Jr. begins to look to the outside there, Adam. He's going to tuck back in, and looks like they're going to draft a little bit through turns 3 and 4.
Looks like the outside is not where you want to be right now. Daniel Knight losing 3 positions all the way down to 4th spot right now, and he's even being challenged by Paul Johnson, who's got a nose on him at the moment. Bradley Holly, looking on all of this, has made his way up 3 positions, up to 6th spot, and is looking on at all these guys. Daniel Knight gets a little bit loose through the corner. That's going to give an opportunity to Bradley Holly. He actually makes contact with Knight off of the corner, but it's still Abner Acosta leading over Richard Rico Jr., who's gotten to his inside.
It's Regan and Acosta side by side for the top spot. The advantage to Regan as they come off of the turn down the front straightaway. There's still Regan out ahead now as the 23 of Brett Adams now goes to work on Acosta for the runner-up position.
Thomas Singh saying the fastest lap down there in the 7th position on the bottom side in that black and white and green and orange 48 machine. But you see it right now. We're going on board with him as he tries to follow up in behind his former teammate, but now co-team leader, Bradley Holly in the 184, who goes through, and that's Daniel Knight passing right down in front of him in that 17 machine. Thomas Sink trying to make some moves up there, but is stuck on the high side now.
Bradley Holly gets down in front of the 17 of Knight, and looks like that may have upset the handle for Knight a little bit as now the door opens up beneath him.
Ooh, that was close between Mike Richter and Daniel Knight there as you saw that happening. But up ahead in the lead, Richard Riga Jr. leading very effectively from the front. We saw him do this before. He's done a very good job of that. But Paul Johnson moving a lot on track right in front of Bradley Holly. And we're seeing Bradley Holly trying to find a way past Paul Johnson. Can't quite do so as Paul's blocking every lane that he possibly can on the front stretch. Looks like a lot of these drivers looking to keep their track position against the reigning champion right now as they go, and they're on lap 5.
Yeah, you know, Richard Regan Jr. has been a somewhat infrequent visitor to this series the last couple seasons, Adam. But every time he's here, he is definitely fast. As we see Paul Johnson now beginning to make a move on the inside to the 23 of Adams. Regan comes down to kind of stem that run that the 14 had. But now Adams going to try to wind up that top line, and looks like more drivers are starting to get lined up in the upper group there, Adam.
There's definitely an awesome amount of eagerness going on track right now as all these drivers realize that with a new championship starting off a new season, all these drivers have an opportunity to make a name for themselves right now. With Richard Regan Jr. and Brett Adams battling for the top spot, Paul Johnson in 3rd, and Abner Acosta trying to hold off Bradley Holly for the 4th position.
And that is no small feat. I mean, even starting 9th, you can see Bradley Holly already jumped himself up into the mix. They're up in the top 5 as that battle still rages on for the 2nd position right now between the 23 of Brett Adams and the 14 of Paul Williams.
Looking like all these truckers are happy with the sets. Remember, it's a fixed set series here in the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, and they're all doing a great job handling that set out there. It really is up to the driver in the seat to figure out how to wheel this thing around the track as fast as possible. Looks like Brett Adams really struggling on that high side to get the traction down off of the corner, but he seems to be able to get that run going once they get back onto the straights here and now into the corners. He's still trying to challenge on that high side. Paul Johnson can't quite cut him off either.
Yeah, once the grip gets a little more established up in that top groove, look for it to really work to the advantage. As you see, Adams gets a great run down the back straightaway, but just doesn't have the drive through the middle that the 46 of Regan has. So that's going to be a bit of a disadvantage. But these trucks really thrive on the momentum And with the higher banking, the higher up you go in the corners, the more momentum these trucks are going to build up.
8 laps down, and we're still side by side for the lead of this race at a 1.5 mile oval. Richard Regan Jr. currently leads over Brett Adams. Paul Johnson in that third position in the gray truck, and we have Bradley Hawley and Abner Acosta in 4th and 5th right now.
Great view of just how hard these drivers are working from inside the 14 machine of Paul Johnson. And you can see, I mean, just razor thin margins between those left tires and the grass there as these drivers cut that apron on the front straightaway.
Well, it looks like Bradley Hawley might have given a little bit of a shove to Brett Adams as they went into 1 and 2, got him a little high out of the groove, but Bradley Hawley, having moved up from 9th position up to 3rd at the moment, is currently trying to push Brett Adams past. He's tucked down on the bottom side, but they can't quite get it done. That high line has not rubbered in quite yet, and they can't get the speed off of the corners quite yet.
Well, Bradley Hawley, one of those drivers not afraid to use a little muscle when he deems it necessary. And right now he's helping to muscle the 23 of Adams right around Richard Regan Jr.
The entire top 10 tucked in under 1 second right now. This field has not strung out at all ever since we started this race, but the front 7, actually the front 9 rather right now, are currently single files, and that track is starting to wear away. The tires are starting to wear away a little bit for these drivers. They're getting a little bit tight around here.
Yeah, and you got to think this is a track where the tire wear is probably a little higher than you would even expect. Being out in the desert with the sand blowing around, this track surface becomes pretty abrasive on these Goodyear Wrangler tires. So expect to see maybe some tire wear become an issue the later we get into this run.
Bradley Hawley trying to make a move on the high side. Richard Regan Jr. got him at the bottom, but he moves up to the top, and he's going to try and push Bradley Hawley through on that high side up ahead of Brett Adams. This will be Bradley Hawley's first lap led if he can get the corner off well, and he does. Ooh, a little bit of contact there between Richard Regan Jr. and Bradley Hawley, but Bradley Hawley will lead his first lap here in the 2020 Season 4 of the PRL NASCAR Truck Series.
Didn't really take too long for that to happen, did it, Adam?
No, not at all. Bradley Hawley's proficiency in these trucks is nothing to be scoffed at, and he's right now up there in the lead. He has his points playing. He's going to move down to the bottom, giving Richard Regan Jr. that top side, but they've all gone double file once again, all the way back to 6th position with Daniel Knight trying to hang on to the back of these guys.
I got to see Regan getting a really good run as they head down that front straightaway off into turn number 1. Regan has been very impressive. You see Hawley now moving up the track a little bit. Came off that bottom groove to try to get a better run, but that momentum on the high side is really starting to work as the 46 of Regan Jr. retakes the top spot.
Daniel Knight getting a little bit unstable off of turns 1 and 2 as he tried to go down on that bottom side. But as we look off the back of the second truck, that's Bradley Hawley currently in second as Regan Jr. got that pass completed. He's looking back at this battle for third, and it is very intense between Brett Adams and Abner Acosta as they seem to be struggling to keep that truck solid and stable off of the turns now.
Abner Acosta, who started on pole, faded in the early running, now seems to be rising back up to the top of the field. Do you think maybe he might have backed off early on in the run to try to save the tires?
That might be the case. Also, remember, this is his first time running with these guys in these machines, so it could have been one of those, I'm going to take some time to get a little bit familiarized. He's going to get familiarized with 3 wide because Daniel Knight puts him 3 wide, him and Brett Adams. Brett Adams is going to back out of it. He doesn't want anything to do with that at the moment. Abner Acosta retains 3rd position.
Yeah.
Oh, and our first caution. Looks like it's Dominic Bajin. Yeah, and this was a 3 wide moment with Dominic Bajin and Baron Hilton. Dominic Bajin, Baron Hilton, and Kenny Rodriguez were 3 wide as they came up to the entrance to turn 1. It looks like Dominic comes up off the bottom of the course just a little bit and gets up into them as they come into the corner, and that's what ends up causing this 3-truck wreck. Looks like another truck ends up getting into them. I believe that was Baron Hilton.
That may have been the 109 of Nicholas Hunter that piled in there late.
That is the 109 of Nicholas Hunter. Good catch, Chris.
You got it. I'm actually pretty impressed, Adam. We have close to 40 trucks out there today, And these guys went about 15 laps racing very hard. These guys were not taking it easy on each other by any stretch. And just the first incident here in the early running.
Well, now everybody's going to come to the pits, led by Richard Regan Jr. in the lead. Now, last season, the pits are where Bradley Holly made all of his moves. He won about 3 races because of his moves on pit road. So let's see whether he can do that again and jump Richard Regan Jr. in this pit stop cycle.
Yeah, Bradley Holly was just next level with his
Oh,
pit
no.
game.
Richard Regan Jr. missed his pit box. This could change everything. So now we will see whether or not who's going to make it off pit road first. Looks like we do have a couple of people who took 2 tires. One being John LaBath, who beats everybody out of the pits. He might have actually just run through the pit lane as well. But Bradley Holly definitely took 2, and he beats Abner Acosta out. Ryan Traver did not come to pit lane, so he's likely to come this next time by. So it'll likely be Richard Regan Jr. in front of John LaBath and Bradley Holly, as well as Abner Acosta and Daniel Knight, rounding out your top 5. Well, Chris, like you said, I'm very impressed with how all these drivers have handled this large field. And also, they haven't just been, taking it easy. They've been battling very hard since the drop of the green flag. And all the new drivers, as well as the old season drivers from this series, have really come to grips well with the way that this is working out.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. I mean, especially with all the new names that we have in the series this year, or this season, I should say. Really great to see this much variety and everybody getting along, so to speak.
Yeah, everyone's doing a pretty good job right now. Now, fortunately, it's very unfortunate for the drivers that were involved in that wreck. Kenny Rodriguez, Dominic Bajin, Baron Hilton. Those 3 are still in the pits trying to get repairs done. The fortunate thing is that none of those drivers are currently in our playoff championship. And the drivers who are in our playoff championship still in the race, still contending for positions here tonight.
It looks like the lights are off on the pace car, and Regan and Traver, neither of them made an attempt to go back down pit road, so it looks like they're just going to ride it out with no tires.
Well, this will make things very interesting. Richard Regan Jr. and Ryan Traver have no tires, and they're going to be leading the entire field to the green flag. Bradley Holly will be the first truck on tires down on that bottom side. Then it's going to be Abner Acosta on the high side with Daniel Knight behind them. That rounds out your top 5. This will be a very interesting restart as you see Richard Regan Jr. trying to weave that truck a little bit to get some heat into those tires, as the pace car is going to pull off and release Richard Regan Jr. as the leader of the race. Now, will he go early or will he go late? Time will tell. Here we go. Richard Regan Jr. leading them to the line. He takes it just a little bit early. Doesn't quite catch out Bradley Holly, but he definitely caught out Ryan Traver. And it looks like a couple of trucks are going to have to back off on that high side to make sure to not get a penalty for passing him on the low side. That's going to really jumble up in the field in the back line, but this gives Richard Regan Jr. a clear shot of the lead, and Bradley Holly is going to be able to pass him quite easily on the backstretch.
Yeah, Traver, with no tires, no grip, decided to scoot out of the way, but unfortunately that kind of bottlenecked everybody there as Bradley Holly now gets past Richard Regan Jr. with ease, as Regan has no tires on that machine. So he is significantly disadvantaged now, as Daniel Knight and Paul Johnson both get around as well.
Daniel Knight and Paul Johnson with a head of steam coming up to challenge Bradley Holly. They were able to get to that low side, but Bradley Holly picking his lane wisely. He chooses the high side to try and get good momentum off of turns 1 and 2, is able to do so. Daniel Knight still challenging him on the low side. Paul Johnson just trying to decide who he's going to go with. Daniel Knight getting very loose on the low side, tries to hold on to it, manages to keep it out of Bradley Holly. We've seen these two battle neck and neck all last season, and we're seeing it again here tonight in the first round.
Yeah, I feel like we're watching a repeat of last season almost here, Adam, as Daniel Knight and Bradley Holly continue to duke it out up front. They are side by side off of turn 2, almost rubbing doors, but you see Paul Johnson there lurking in that third position, just looking for somewhere to go.
This is exactly what we all signed up to see, as these two drivers duking it out on the high side. Daniel Knight able to clear Bradley Holly off of 3 and 4. Paul Johnson looking to that low side. He's going to think about making it 3 wide through 1 and 2. He backs off a little bit, and this brings Abner Acosta into the picture. Thomas Sink looking on in 5th.
This is definitely a 3-truck dogfight here on the Nellis straightaway. Holly once again gets a run as Abner Acosta now to the inside of the 14 of Johnson for the final podium position. They're going to be dead even for 3rd as they head off into turn number 3 as Bradley Holly reclaims the lead.
Paul Johnson trapped on that high side with no momentum. He actually does the crossover on Abner Acosta as he ducks to look low on that 3rd position. As Bradley Holly currently leads, Daniel Knight's going to look low, but he's going to decide to take that middle line. And now we have a couple of new names into this battle. Brett Adams finding his way back up there into the 6th position with Mark Kalin battling him right now. And here goes Abner Acosta looking low on Daniel Knight for 2nd position.
Acosta definitely getting comfortable in these trucks now as he and Daniel Knight duking it out for the 2nd spot. As we see the look from the back of Bradley Holly watching these two battle for that runner-up position. And Paul Johnson not giving up in the 14 machine. He's right there trying to mix it up as well.
He's going to go low of Daniel Knight and try and force him to go back to yet another position as they battle for 3rd right now. But Abner Acosta looking very strong. He's going to look to the low side of Bradley Holly there off of the exit of 1 and 2 as they go to 3 and 4, then side by side for the top 7 positions.
Acosta definitely showed his muscle earlier today in qualifying when he set the mark there. And he's going to reclaim the lead, it looks like, as they come by at the line. So new leader up front, Abner Acosta. But the 184 of Bradley Holly not giving up on that high side.
Daniel Knight's truck looks extremely loose through the corners as he's there on the high side, 2nd in line behind Bradley Holly. He cannot push Bradley Holly to the lead, whereas Paul Johnson down on that bottom side is trying to push Abner Acosta to the lead. But as these tires start to wear out, that bottom line stops looking appealing as they start to lose grip and push high up into that high lane. So Abner Acosta is going to have to get some kind of move done soon. Otherwise, he's going to be stuck in there behind all of these guys on the high side. Still side by side as they exit 1 and 2. Abner Acosta can't get anything done. Paul Johnson has decided to pick Bradley Holly on that high side as the truck to go with. They're all trying to figure out which line is going to be the fastest around here. Daniel Knight trying to figure things out there in the 4th position. Thomas Sink still in 5th as we ride on board with Paul Johnson as he tucks in right in behind Bradley Holly as they go back into 1 and 2.
Well, the way the 14 of Johnson seems to be switching between drafting partners, you think we're watching One Tree Hill more than we are a stock car race. But the 184 of Bradley Holly is Johnson's partner of choice at the moment. And Johnson's going to push him out to the front, and then Holly drops to the inside line in front of the 5 of Acosta.
Whoa!
Ooh, and they make contact.
Truck. Oh, this almost wrecks everybody, but look at this. Paul Johnson is able to save it as he goes through there, but it does cover up a couple of trucks behind them. That's going to be, oh my goodness, they're falling so fast, it's hard to catch. It's Mike Richter. We're still going green at this moment, so we're going to keep everything going right now. This has broken up all of the battles. We got Bradley Holly and Daniel Knight still battling for that top position, but that was a sketchy moment with the lap truck of Brendan Chatley, who as they came off of 3 and 4.
Also, like One Tree Hill, there was a lot of drama and a near fight in the infield between these trucks.
Well, we have a fight for the lead right now with Daniel Knight. He's not done with Bradley Holly. Would have thought he would have maybe decided to take it easy after that chaos that just happened, but he decides not to. He's going to work on himself down at the low side of Bradley Holly. Bradley Holly starting to clock in those laps like we know he can. So quick, the draft around here at Vegas is so dangerous. Oh my goodness, and he gets held up a little bit. Here comes Thomas Sink into the picture.
Yeah, you could maybe fit a sheet of paper between Bradley Holly and the 17 of Daniel Knight. And you have Doug Evans up there sticking his nose in the battle for the first time really tonight. And that 48 of Thomas Sink just looking for somewhere to go. He dives it off into turn number 3.
Remember that Thomas Sink and Bradley Holly, while they are on different teams, they are both waterback drivers, so they do want to get those maximum points for their teams for sure. Doug Evans, his first time up there battling in that lead act, as Brett Adams has been able to recover from what was a terrifying moment and is up there in the 5th position. We will get to that replay eventually, but right now the battle is just too good for the lead.
So a bit of a battle there shaping up once again for that second spot as Thomas Sink lays back a little bit. Daniel Knight thinks about making a move, and then it jukes back to the high side.
He's actually there. He's there on the outside of Thomas Sink, of Bradley Holly as they go into 1 and 2.
I gotta say that worked out a lot better than I thought, Adam. I really thought Daniel Knight had thought about making a move and thought better of it, but turns out he was just reloading to try the high side. Looked like Thomas Sink was considering making it 3 wide for just a moment. Thankfully for all of our hearts, he decided to hold off.
Bradley Holly sends it deep into 3 and 4, is able to get a nose ahead of Daniel Knight. Daniel's going to look. Oh my goodness, that's close between the 2 drivers. That gives an opportunity to Thomas Sink on the low side to try and get past Daniel Knight. But he's going to dive it in a little bit deep there, but Daniel Knight able to come back on the outside. It's close racing for 2nd place as they come off the corner. That's close racing for 5th as well, with Brett Adams trying to hold off Abner Costa, who's recovered himself from that terrifying moment of 3 and 4.
Well, this has got to feel like the ghost of seasons past breathing down the neck of the 184 of Bradley Holly. His 2 most recent championship competitors in the last couple seasons, Thomas Sink and Daniel Knight, both right there side by side trying to take advantage and take the lead. But right now, Holly pulls up in front of the 17 of Knight, and that's going to open the inside line for Sink to maybe make an attempt.
And he's got what was probably his newest championship rival, Abner Acosta, coming in to tuck in behind. Oh, here goes Daniel Knight with a nice move down the bottom side into turn 3. He's going to try and put the power down and maybe push Bradley Holly up the track a little bit. They both are slow off of 3 and 4. Thomas Sink, though, isn't quite close enough to do anything, but he's gaining now. He doesn't really have enough track to make anything work with. Abner Acosta has to back out of it as well on the high side.
Well, looks like maybe these guys needed a chance to catch their breath as they somewhat settle in here. And of course, as soon as I say that, the 48 of Thomas Sink once again going to try the outside of the 17 of Daniel Knight. What a great race we've had here so far, Adam.
He ends up pushing his former teammate to the lead. Bradley Holly up there now in the lead. Thomas Sink is tucked in behind Daniel Knight up there in the 3rd position. Abner Acosta thinks, hey, if you guys are going to back out of it, I think I'll take some positions of my own. He decides to take a look at the bottom side of Thomas Sink for 3rd, but can't quite do it. I think the tires are starting to wear out for these guys. Just as I say that, though, Chris, there goes Daniel Knight on the bottom side of Bradley Holly once again into 3 and 4.
I think at this point, we just have to expect to be on our toes for the rest of this one, Adam, as Daniel Knight was about a fender ahead as they came off at turn 4, but that outside momentum makes it just about a dead heat at the line, 9/1000ths of a second, the difference between those two as they cross the line.
It's going to be a hard. Someone's going to have to go to the math to figure out who led the most laps this race if they continue like this. It's very close up there, but Thomas Sink is always going to pick his former teammate, Bradley Holly, in that WEBB machine. Bradley getting pushed to the lead, but man, these trucks are starting to get a little bit squirmy. The battle for the 4th position is pretty tight as well between Brett Adams and Abner Acosta. Abner is stuck on that high side with Brett Adams, actually doing a great job of powering through on the bottom side. Looks like he backed off a little bit to watch this battle happen, and is now trying to take advantage of the wasted tires on Abner Acosta's machine. He's actually got a nose underneath Thomas Sink there as well for 3rd.
Yeah, we're closing in on probably about 20 laps into this tire run. And you got to think somebody like Richard Regan Jr. hanging back there has to be about racing on the rims after not pitting that first time. But we're pretty much around the same distance we were on that first tire cycle, Adam. And you got to think these tires have definitely got the good going away.
As Daniel Knight comes to the bottom side, and he's got a decent run against Bradley Holly this time. He sends it deep into 1, but he can't quite get clear. He's going to have to back it off a lot on the exit of 2, and that's going to give Bradley Holly a great opportunity. If you're wondering where Richard Regan Jr. is, oh my goodness, as Thomas Sink hits the wall, and we have contact between Abner Acosta and Brett Adams. This is going to collect a couple of trucks as Abner Acosta hits the outside wall hard. Oh, and he gets collected once again.
Yeah, looked like Acosta doing everything he should have there. He had the brakes locked, trying to stay out of the way. Unfortunately, gets collected a little bit late there. You'll see him on the outside in that black number 5.
He's just a little bit down across the nose of the 23, and they end up getting hooked up together. That's what ended up starting that incident. He does lock the brakes, but man, I believe that was that Adam Young who ended up collecting him?
That was one of the riding shotgun guys. I'm not sure which one. It may have been the 21 machine.
Yes, it was the 21, and this is bad news for him because he's currently in the danger zone for the playoff cutoff. So if he can't get that thing going, if it is down on power, he's going to be in trouble. You'll see it right here. He has nowhere to go. He tries his best to avoid it.
That was a very almost near miss.
We're going to take a look at Paul Johnson here as he has a very terrifying moment as he tries to avoid this incident as well.
The 14 of Paul Johnson here. We're taking a look back.
We're going to see. Oh my goodness, yeah, so this is what happened in the first incident. This is Paul Johnson trying to save it, and he actually manages to as he cuts through the inside grass. This was what caused that big breakup earlier on off of 3 and 4.
And that was even more significant than I expected. I have no idea how he missed the 17 of Daniel Knight there.
Very intense stuff from Paul Johnson as he managed to save it. Now we have had a pit cycle here. Bradley Hawley has once again retained the lead. Daniel Knight has retained second. Thomas Sink also in third. Brett Adams is up to fourth now, with Doug Evans inheriting that fifth position because Abner Acosta had that moment. I believe Abner is going to be in for some repairs for quite a while, but that being said, a very impressive showing from Abner Acosta in this first round. If he races like that all season, he's got a good shot at the season championship.
Yeah, definitely a rough turn of the luck for Abner Acosta, but he has no shame with how this run went so far up to this point. He set fast time in qualifying and has done a very impressive job. You can see our loss gain chart there. Looks like Paul Williams back there up 27 spots, our hard charger so far.
Yeah, that's definitely hard charging to get up there into the top 10 from starting in 37th position. That's an excellent job from him. Now remember, he was the driver who hit the outside wall on his qualifying lap, so he was likely going to qualify in the top 10, but still, getting all that done on track is not an easy feat, Chris.
Yeah, with the way qualifying went, he probably was expecting to have his work cut out for him, but he's done a yeoman's job getting his way up there into the top 10.
He definitely has. With that being said, some of the other big movers, Bradley Hawley and Thomas Sink, both are on those Wetterback teams. Another big mover being Colton Lane, who's down there in the 6th position. He's been able to get himself up into some decent spots right now. He's also in a Wetterback machine, so he's got some front end damage now because of a couple of those wrecks, so look for him to be a little bit down on pace, but Wetterback with a very strong showing in the opening round here tonight.
And these drivers have all really a huge credit to them for the way they've been racing. Just amazing action. You know, when you come to a racetrack like Las Vegas, you kind of have some expectations for how the racing is going to go, and these drivers have absolutely knocked it out of the park, and they've really done a tremendous job turning this into a very exciting event.
All right, we are closing in on halfway to go. We are completed 43 out of the scheduled 85 laps, still on to finish under the time limit as the lights go out. Your running order is going to be Bradley Hawley in front of Daniel Knight outside of him. And we have Thomas Sink lined up behind his teammate Bradley, with Brett Adams on the outside lined up behind Daniel Knight. Doug Emmons is going to be in 5th, with Colton Lane lining up in 6th position. Christopher B. Williams in 7th. Josue Tellez, a name we haven't talked about for a good season now, has moved his way up into 8th position and is looking to challenge up there for the top 5 as well. Paul Williams is going to be lined up in 9th, with Austin Hunter lining up in 10th spot.
Yeah, thanks to a couple of incidences there kind of shaking things up. We're starting to see some new names rising towards the front of the field. Colton Lane's another fast driver that we really haven't talked about too much today, and now he's knocking on the door to the top 5.
All right, so the Mustang pace car is going to pull off to the inside, and that will release Bradley Holly to control this race. Bradley Holly, a master at restarts here in the Truck Series. He's going to wait quite a while here, gives a little bit of a early jump. They're going to roll quite quickly towards the line, but Bradley Holly has not yet gone, and now he goes. He does not catch Daniel Knight out at all. Daniel Knight knew exactly what he was doing and jumps on that loud pedal as well. Thomas Sink tucked in behind Bradley Holly is the reason why Bradley's getting such a good push, but Daniel Knight on the high side with those new tires might have an opportunity to challenge.
Thomas Sink showing some muscle on that inside line. He'll take over the second spot, and he is just about shoving the 184 down the straightaway.
It's very tight racing up there for those top 3 with Thomas Sink getting very loose through 3 and 4. That was a terrifying moment for Daniel Knight as he dodges that incident. That's going to make everybody squirm. And here comes Jose Tellez down on the bottom side. He's going to look at second position as they go into 1 and 2. It's 3 wide and they're very tight, but Jose Tellez maintains the position into second.
It's still 3 wide a little further back there as Colton Lane is the meat in the sandwich as they come off of turn 2. And looks like they're going to stay that way. Oh, they're ping-ponging off of each other. Looks like everybody's going to keep it straight so far. But the margin for error is razor thin now as Colton Lane still stuck in the middle. They make contact. Colton Lane, the back end sliding out, but they all keep it pointed straight somehow.
Absolute calamity as they come off of this last restart, but they finally get things sorted out. Bradley Holly over Jose Tellez. Doug Evans in second right now with Thomas Sink in third. Daniel Knight trying to get a move done on Thomas Sink. Can't quite get it done. He's stuck in the 5th position. Holy smokes. Colton Lane now looking to the bottom of Paul Williams as they go into 3 and 4.
I think somebody forgot to tell these drivers they were supposed to wreck, so they've done everything but that here in the last lap.
Here comes Thomas Sink looking on the low side of Doug Evans for that 3rd position as Doug gets held up a little bit by Jose Tellez, who's trying to look for an opportunity to get past Bradley Holly, maybe trying to size him up a little bit. They're all going to stay single file as they go into 3 and 4, but Brett Adams actually trying to make a pass on Colton Lane, who's trying to hold on to that 6th position. Those guys still battling side by side in the background.
Yeah, Jose Tellez came out of nowhere on that last start to find himself battling for the lead, not just in a top position, but now he's looking to the inside of the 184. Got a great run down the straightaway as they head off towards turn 1, excuse me.
Fantastic battle that we have going on right now for the lead. Jose Tellez, oh, he gets a little bit loose off of the corner, and that's going to mean he loses some time in position. He's going to try and keep it low there to try and block off Thomas Sink's momentum, and manages to do so as Doug Evans up on the high side trying to look around the outside of Thomas Sink, but is he going to be clear enough to do so on the exit of the corner? As we see Colton Lane trying to tuck up behind Daniel Knight as well. Oh, Thomas Sink crosses over all the way to the high side to try and get on the outside of Jose Tellez, who weaves a little bit to cut him off, and that allows Daniel Knight with all the momentum to go down to the bottom side as he battles Thomas Sink for 3rd.
You saw right there just how effective the draft can be on these trucks. A bit of a slingshot.
Oh, no!
Oh, contact! The 17 of Knight sends the 48 of Sink around. Sink is pirouetting down on the apron.
Still
But he
green.
keeps it rolling. We're still green.
Unbelievable, but unfortunately that's going to mean Thomas Sink is way out of this one. Daniel Knight dropping down to 11th. He's going to get passed by Mark Kalin for 12th position, but the battle up for the lead is still not done. Jose Tellez looking for an opportunity on Bradley Holly. Can't get that done. Brett Adams going to the high side, or Doug Evans rather, on the high side of Jose Tellez. He's going to force Jose Tellez to be shallow off the exit of the corner. He's going to get pushed into that 2nd place if Jose isn't able to challenge down to 3 and 4.
The 60 of Colton Lane looking for a drafting partner, somebody that he can push forward. He now falls in line behind Tellez as now ducks in behind the 41 of Evans as it's turning into a 4-truck breakaway now for the top spot. The 23 of Brett Adams trying to maintain contact with the top 4 runners.
This race is everything side-by-side battles, wrecks, some drama. It's got all the things that mark a great race as we get going on to the backstretch now, onto the 52nd lap. We are over halfway, still well on target to make it in the time frame allotted here as Colton Lane looks at the bottom side of Doug Evans, who is planning on turning in. He has to back out of it, and that means Colton Lane is going to be side-by-side with Doug Evans as they go down the front straight now. Jose Tellez still not taking his opportunity to duck out and make a pass on Bradley Holly. He's just tucked in, pushing him down the front stretch.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Tellez hasn't made any motions towards making a move yet. Still right behind the 184 as they head down the Nellis straightaway. As that battle still rages on for third between the 60 of Colton Lane and the 41 of Evans.
And if you want to see some chaos, you've got some good stuff going on down there for the 10th position, because Daniel Knight and Paul Williams, both two of our big movers, are trying to get their way back up into the battle here as we see the lead battle continuing. There it is. There's that chaos you see going on right there. That battle for 10th is very tight between Charles Sumner and Paul Williams. Daniel Knight now having moved his way up to the 8th spot, but he's just trying to stay ahead of these guys as he's got a little bit of a slow truck through the corners as well.
Yeah, if we thought the front four were insane, just wait till you get a little bit further back into this battle as we follow along the 98 of Charles Sumner to the inside of that 7 of Paul Williams.
And we just haven't had a chance to talk about it because the front battle for the lead has been so good, but these guys have been battling so hard as well, as we actually have a move for Colton Lane. Colton Lane making a dive down for the 3rd place as he's trying to get down on the bottom side of Doug Evans. He's clear just a little bit, but they're so tight up there, he can't find a way up to the top.
Well, you know, Colton Lane is a driver that's not afraid to make moves. And if there isn't an opportunity, he will try to make one for himself. Now, as he gets past the 41 of Evans to take over the 3rd spot, not satisfied with that. Now he'll be to the inside of the 1 of Tellez.
He's trying to get going there, but now we have another fighter joins the fray. Brett Adams back up there after dodging multiple wrecks. He's been sticking true to the whole ethos. Oh, he gets a little bit collected there by Doug Evans, who is a little bit low on the exit of the corner. He's able to keep his foot in it. But then we have also Patrick Cowgill, a driver we haven't talked about at all today, who's made it up there, up 20 spots from his starting position, now battling for the 5th position as Josue Tellez goes all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, Tellez way down to the apron, and it looks like he's going to make it work as they head off towards turn 1.
I mean, this is completely insane as Doug Evans looks to the bottom side of Colton Lane to try and battle for 2nd position, well, 3rd position. I can't even keep it straight anymore. They've changed positions so many times. Jose Tellez, though, not able to carry enough speed off of the corner. Bradley Holly is exactly where he wants to be, and he's just trying to maintain his speed there in that middle line as they come off of 3 and 4.
Well, they get very close there as they head around the tri-oval here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Doug Evans peeks to the inside there, doesn't make it 3 wide, thinks better of it, but still has the advantage for the 3rd position now, as the 1 of Tellez still just about even with the 184 of Holly.
And don't look now, but the 17 of Dan Lunt has creeped back into the picture. He's the 3rd truck on the bottom side now in that picture, trying to get back into this battle after he and Thomas Sink got together, but now is trying to get back up there and battle for the lead. We are closing in on the last portion of this race. 58 complete on the 59th lap now. Josue Tellez still holding strong on the bottom.
Yeah, we are definitely in the home stretch at this point. I'd say once the pay window opens is when these contact between Tellez and Colton Lane. Tellez came up, was not quite clear, so made a little bit of contact. All drivers able to keep it collected, but that does give the 184 of Bradley Holly about his biggest lead he's had all day as we start to encounter lap traffic.
Last time they went past Brendan Chadley, there was almost a wreck. This time as they go past Brendan Chadley, everything's going to be pretty tight up there. Daniel Knight is the one who gets a little bit disadvantaged. Now it's going to be 3 wide as they exit turn 2. That's going to be between Daniel Knight, the 23 of Brett Adams, and Doug Evans in the 41. But Daniel Knight actually uses that momentum to try and get past Colton Lane on the bottom side. He's trying to challenge him for 3rd. They go off of turn 3 and 4. Daniel Knight with the speed. He's just been passing people left and right, trying to get up there towards the top positions. If you're wondering where Thomas Sink is, we'll get an update for that on you shortly, but man, things are getting intense up here.
Yeah, this race has been absolute insanity start to finish. I mean, you know, it's been a crazy race when a quarter-second lead is the biggest lead that Bradley Holly has enjoyed in the entire event.
Thomas Sink is stuck down there in the 30th position. He has not been able to recover very well from that spin that you saw earlier. They're all starting to get a little bit single file as those tires really do start to wear out. They are on their 19 laps, 20 laps into this stint, so things very stressful for these drivers as far as tires are concerned. Daniel Knight, though, looking to try and get a nose in on the bottom side of Josue Tellez, and he actually has a decent run coming off of 1 and 2.
And there goes Knight once again looking to the inside of Telez as they head through turns 3 and 4. He's going to have the slight edge as they head down the front straightaway. He'll have the second spot at the line, but it's still Daniel Knight maintaining a now probably 2 or 3 truck length advantage over the rest of the field.
And Josue Telez just trying to push through the corner to make sure to keep that position. He's able to do so. Stays ahead of Daniel Knight, who tucks in behind Josue Telez. Bradley Hawley out there for the lead. Bradley just putting in laps. Definitely conserving some tires at this point because he knows that somebody's going to try and challenge him as they get towards the end of this race. They're just completing 63 laps this time by, entering our 64th lap. Jose Telez gets held up. Daniel Knight gets held up. Who does that give opportunity to? And we have another caution. That's going to be Colton Lane, unfortunately.
Looks like the 31 of Patrick Cowgill taking responsibility for that one.
Yeah, this is just a coming together off of turn 3. Turn 3 and 4 here. Yeah, just they ended up coming together on the same line. Patrick Cowgill able to keep it going and keep it going straight, but quite a few other drivers making some major contact. That's the 21 again of Adam Young. Just no luck tonight. And another of his teammate drivers taking some collection there. That's Stacy Hunter. That's twice now that Adam Young has had trucks just show up in front of him that he can't avoid. Well, let's see whether or not we can pick up the other incident that we had a little bit earlier on between Daniel Knight and Thomas Sink, because that was another scary moment for everybody involved in the field. So here we go, taking a look at that particular incident. So here we go as they come down the back straight, and it looks like Thomas Sink just comes a little bit low to try and get a good angle for the next corner. Comes across the nose of the 17, who is tucked in right next to him, and ends up going around. And that was some scary moments for everybody involved. But here we go, back into pit lane.
You got to think everybody's screaming for tires at this point. And this would be the last set of tires everybody has at their disposal if I'm doing my math correctly.
I believe they have 3 extra sets in the pits, so 4 total, including the one that they started on. So most of these drivers would have 1 more.
I never did say math was my strong suit.
And math, while broadcasting, is nobody's strong suit. But Bradley Hawley wins the battle off the pit road. Jose Telez maintains second. Daniel Knight is unable to jump Josue for that 3rd position. Doug Evans comes out in 4th, beating Brett Adams out for 5th position. Then Patrick Cowgill, looks like he took 2 tires, I believe. Let me take my look. No, he actually took 4. Ends up coming out in the 6th position. With Mark Kalin 7th, Charles Sumner 8th, and Richard Regan Jr. recovering up to 9th, with Paul Williams in 10th.
Interesting to see Richard Regan Jr. back up in the mix. He was one of our top contenders here in the early running and missed his pit stall during the first pit stop. Dropped all the way back to almost 30th position by the time we hit the next pit stop. And looks like he is starting to recover nicely.
Thomas Sink was able to jump a couple of trucks and make his way up to the 18th position. Well, Chris, as the drivers catch their breath, we actually catch ours as well. It's been intense up there for the lead.
Yeah, I'm sitting here in my chair, and I'm starting to feel like that adrenaline dump. This race has been so exciting now that we had a second to slow down and catch our breath. I don't know how these drivers are feeling, Adam, but I'm exhausted.
I'm pretty tired myself. Now, one of the things I've been keeping my eye on is that playoff championship, and our current driver who's at risk of being kicked out, who's doing really well tonight, is actually going to be Brett Adams. Brett Adams currently is lined up in that 5th position, and he's been strong all night, up there battling pretty solidly in 5th most of the evening. So he's been doing a great job. He's in that blue and white striped machine in the 23 truck, and he's doing a good job of trying to gain some points here and get himself out of that bottom 4 spots that would kick him out of the playoff championships. But he has a long way to go. He is 4 points down off of Nicholas Hunter who is tied with Mike Richter right now. Nicholas Hunter is ahead of Mike Richter on countback, but they are tied currently for that last spot in the top 12. And Brett Adams doing a good job of putting his best foot forward and trying to make it back into the championship.
And that's a big part of these playoff-based point systems, is you really have to peak at the right time. And racing, whether on the iRacing service or in real life, is really a momentum game. You gotta, once you get the good runs going, it kind of just seems to flow, and you hit your peak. And on the flip side of that, you get a couple bad runs, and all of a sudden you can't do anything right. So Brett Adams definitely peaking at the right time of the year to make a possible late charge to the playoffs.
So as the lights go off again, we prepare for the last sprint of this race. As they get going, they will be completing 68 laps of this 85-lap race. Still good to go on time. Bradley Holly will lead them to the line with Josue Tellez in second. Daniel Knight will be in third place, lined up right behind his last year's championship rival. Doug Evans is going to line up on the outside in fourth with Brett Adams in fifth. Patrick Cowgill lining up in sixth spot with Mark Kalin in seventh. Charles Sumner lining up in eighth. And Paul Williams in ninth with Richard Regan Jr. lining up in the 10th spot. So will we see the intensity continue? Will we see another caution? All those things are about to be answered as the drivers go through 3 and 4. As the Mustang pace car pulls off onto the pit lane, Bradley Holly will be released to get them going once again. Will Josue Tellez be as good on the jump as Daniel Knight was? He actually puts a nose ahead of Bradley Holly. Bradley will definitely take advantage of this. Oh, and looks like they get going once again. Josue Tellez has to back out of it because he was ahead of Bradley Holly. Bradley gets a good jump on everybody behind him, including Daniel Knight. Josue Tellez, though, in a bad position. He's got Daniel right tucked in underneath him as the whole field gets bunched up into 1 and 2. But look at the amount of draft that Daniel Knight is getting. He's closing on Bradley Holly with a head of steam.
Don't look now, but Brett Adams showing some muscle there on the restart. Daniel Knight now dives to the inside. Knight's going to pull ahead of the 184 Holly. He's going to clear him off at turn 4. He gets way loose. Daniel Knight dog walking up the track. We're now 3 wide, 4 wide for the top spot.
4 wide as Josue Tellez on the high side. He almost gets his nose chopped off by Daniel Knight, but that's going to put Brett Adams into the lead. Unbelievable move there from Brett to stay in the throttle as he came off the 3 and 4, go all the way down to the bottom side. But don't think for 1 second that Bradley Holly and Daniel Knight are going to let that go. Bradley Holly diving down to the inside as they go into 3 and 4.
A tremendous move by Brett Adams to briefly take the lead. Bradley Holly right back by on the bottom. Daniel Knight going to try to follow him through with Josue Tellez looking for somewhere to go as well. Our top 4 trucks still duking it out for that top spot with just about 15 laps remaining here, Adam. Things show no signs of slowing down.
Not at all. Daniel Knight down to the bottom side of Bradley Holly as Bradley was able to lead that lap. Daniel Knight's going to try and get ahead as they go back onto the back stretch. Josue Tellez trying to pick which lane he's going to go with. Brett Adams trying to figure out what lane he's going to go with as well. But Daniel Knight sends it deep into the corner. He's going to use those new tires for the best effort he can. He's going to push Bradley Holly a little bit up off the groove out of 3 and 4. But Bradley Holly, with that outside line momentum, is going to cross the line. And it looks like that's going to be Daniel Knight leading as they go across the line. Josue Tellez is going to take Bradley Holly as they go into 1 and 2.
15 100ths of a second, the margin of the lead there at the line for Daniel Knight. About the time it takes you to blink your eyes, I believe, as Josue Tellez looking for somewhere to go in third, and they are still door handle to door handle as they come off a turn 4 for that top spot. They get very close as they come to the tri-oval, and once again, Daniel Knight leading at the line, that time 7 1,000ths of a second the difference. These drivers less than a breath between them.
And while these guys are battling up ahead, it's still intense down there for the 5th and 6th positions as we have Charles Sumner who's made his way up into the battle. Look at this, Josue Tellez diving down to the bottom side to try and push Daniel Knight through, but Bradley Holly with a great arc into the corner is going to be able to get ahead of Daniel Knight. Let's see what Daniel Knight does here. Let's see what Josue Tellez does. Daniel Knight's actually going to poke out. He's going to try and teleport. He's not go by right now. He's trying to keep Josue Tellez behind him. This allows Brett Adams to catch up to the back of him, as well as Richard Regan Jr. looks to the low side.
You got to pick Richard Regan Jr. after stepping on his own feet there. That first pit stop is looking to redeem himself a bit. as he works towards the inside of the 23 of Brett Adams to break back into the top 4. A tremendous recovery drive just to make it back up into the top 5. You know, that 46 machine not satisfied with that. He now works back to the inside of Adams, who's going to try to break onto one of our podium spots here in just a moment.
Ton of weaving going on the front stretch as drivers try and pick the fastest line, the fastest entry into the corners. Daniel Knight still on that bottom left rear corner of Bradley Holly. Can't quite stay with him this time. Has to tuck in behind him. But look at Rico Riga Jr. tucked in down on the bottom of Jose Tellez. He's going to send it deep into the corner, try and get to the bottom of Daniel Knight. Can't quite do so. Jose Tellez still holding strong on the outside.
Richard Regan Jr., a driver driving with a lot of determination here as he and Tellez still battle. They come up on the lap truck. Looks like he's going to get out of the way.
And actually, Daniel Knight trying to take advantage of that opportunity as he goes down to the bottom side. Bradley Holly had to take a shallow entry into the corner, which gave him a disadvantage coming through there. But unfortunately, he can't quite get it done. Daniel Knight still stuck door to door with Bradley Holly as they come to 10 to go this time by.
Daniel Knight with a bit of an advantage as they head off the corner. I believe there's more lap traffic coming up. Tellez dives towards the bottom. Oh, there might get... yeah, we have contact.
Daniel Knight tried to trap Bradley Holly up on the high side and managed to do so, but forcibly.
Yeah, it looks like Daniel Knight was trying to use the lap car as a pick. And unfortunately, Jose Tellez rolling down the banking. So obviously not working out for him.
This one's going to be one they talk about for quite a while. And who gets a penalty? Who knows? Will there be a penalty handed out at all? But as you can see, Daniel Knight trying to keep Bradley Holly tucked up there and use that truck as a pick. And he managed to get it done, but not without consequence.
We're going to hop on board here with Jose Tellez, who went for a wild ride. You can see him riding the wall there. Now he is barrel rolling down and still riding on his roof.
There we go. There we go. Okay.
And that gets an 8.5 from the Russian judge.
So here things get interesting. Now, I'm going to be very interested to see what gets determined here. Because Bradley Holly's made his way up back into the second position, but he's got some major toe damage. I mean, is anybody gonna pit at this point? We're gonna restart with about 5 to go, Chris. Bradley Holly definitely is gonna have engine damage after a hit like that. You see the front of his truck just completely destroyed. I mean, he's not gonna be a happy camper right now.
No, that was a very aggressive move by the 17 of Daniel Knight. I don't know if it was necessarily bad racing etiquette, but he definitely put the onus on the 184 to decide how he was going to handle that situation. And that just has completely changed the game here in these closing laps.
Now, here's the thing is that last season I talked about it all the time, that you have to take the opportunities when you can with trying to beat Bradley Holly, because the man is just dominant in these trucks. So was Daniel Knight just trying to take his opportunity and take the disadvantage that Bradley Holly was going to get by having to back off due to the lap truck? And was Bradley trying to call his bluff there? And is that what happened?
It was definitely a game of chicken. Daniel Knight was on the inside. He held his line. I mean, I can't say that it seemed like he actively adjusted his line to force the 184 into that situation, but he definitely dropped the decision in the lap of Bradley Holly as to whether or not he was going to let off or if he was going to stay in it and let what happened happen. And Bradley Holly tried to call his bluff and maybe expected Daniel Knight to move out of the way or back off, and Daniel didn't, and that's kind of what led to what we saw. But I guess it's kind of hard to assign blame there because it really was in the hands of both drivers to determine how that one was going to come out.
Well, things will be interesting here because Paul Johnson's just been given the order to drop to the back of the field. So He drops out of there, and Daniel Knight and Bradley Holly are currently nose to tail as they're tucked in behind the Mustang pace car. They are not going to pit. Nobody's going to pit, but there's some pretty significant damage to both of these trucks. And Richard Regan Jr. has significant damage to the front end of his truck. So Brett Adams' truck is looking cleaner than all of them. Patrick Cowgill has some damage. Charles Sumner has some damage to his right rear. I mean, there is not a clean truck in the top 6.
Yeah, just like every other caution so far, this has completely changed things for this race. Seems like every time we get a caution, this race is turned upside down, and this one is definitely no different than any of the other ones we've had. The only difference is it's less of who's going to be new into the top part of the field, and it's more so who's left at the top part of the field.
Yeah, so that caution is definitely going to be one that's going to be a talking point throughout the rest of the week. We will update you on any decisions that are made when we come into next round next week at Talladega. That will definitely be an interesting talking point as to whether or not any penalties are handed out or what any sort of decision is. But as we get back going here, the pace car lights are going to turn off. Daniel Knight will lead Bradley Holly to the line. Bradley will be on the outside with Richard Regan Jr. tucked in 3rd place, tucked in right behind them. Brett Adams on that high side with a decent looking truck comparatively to the top 3. Patrick Cowgill in 5th position, lined up in there, tucked in behind those front group. Then Charles Sumner in 6th, John LeBaff in 7th, Danny Cervantes for the first time into the top 10, Austin Hunter in 9th, with Michael Lemieux also for the first time into the top 10. So a couple of new drivers up there to mix it up with these guys, and it'll be interesting to see what the top speeds of these front drivers are and whether this starts to cause a little bit of an accordion effect.
Yeah, the only thing we know is that we know nothing.
So as we get ready to go, they're going through turns 3 and 4, and I gotta say my nerves, my adrenaline is spiking because I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen into turn 1. But we're about to find out. The Mustang pace car pulls off into pit lane, and that's going to release Daniel Knight and Bradley Holly to lead them to the line. Daniel Knight leading a restart for the first time this season. Waits. He waits. And now he goes. He does not catch Bradley Holly off guard, but Bradley Holly is slow. He has no speed. Daniel Knight is going to take off into the distance. Brett Adams is going to be able to clear Richard Regan Jr., and we have a wreck in the backfield. Possibly. We're going to keep our eyes on that. We're still green as we continue to go through 1 and 2.
So now Daniel Knight has the advantage. The 23 of Brett Adams, a tremendous run down that back straightaway. He's going to get to the back bumper on the 17.
That being said, that's not necessarily Daniel Knight doesn't have pace. That's just the power of the draft. We saw a big 3-wide moment there on the back stretch. That was between Richard Regan Jr., Austin Hunter, and Charles Sumner. Richard Regan also with no speed on that truck. It's definitely down on power. So now we've got Patrick Cowgill up to 3rd, John LeBaff into 4th, and Brett Adams cannot find his way up there to those top spots.
Well, one of the drawbacks to the way the draft has been so far in this race is without any help up there to kind of push him, the 23 of Brett Adams struggling to reel in the 17 of Daniel Knight.
Here we go, out of 3 and 4, and coming down to 3 to go, 2 to go this time by. Daniel Knight will lead them to the line. Brett Adams in 2nd, Patrick Cowgill 3rd, John LeBaff in 4th. Thomas Sink has made his way back up to 5th. Could he surprise everybody and get up there for the lead? He's got the most undamaged truck of this lot. Brett Adams just not closing quite enough, Chris. I'm not sure whether or not he can make a proper challenge here. It's going to be interesting to see whether Patrick Cowgill and John LeBaff can get to them as well.
Yeah, he's close enough to be frustrated with how close the truck in front of him is, but it's going to take some help to finish off closing up that gap. He now gets within a 10th of a second. He's going to look to the outside as we are on the white flag lap.
Final lap here for Daniel Knight. That was a attempt at a crossover from Brett Adams. He's going to try and get down to the low side, but can't quite get the overlap as they go into 3 and 4. Daniel Knight is going to try and get this done. Brett Adams is going to send it down on the low side. They're going to make door-to-door contact as they exit 3 and 4. Brett Adams moving Daniel Knight up on the high side. They're going to be side by side as they go to the line. Brett Adams will take the win here, I believe. Let's see how it plays out. Yes, Brett Adams will win here at Las Vegas. What an opening round for the PRL NASCAR Truck Series. Holy smokes, Chris. What a battle. Daniel Knight just couldn't hang on to it. Brett Adams moving him off the middle groove just enough to get the win.
I legitimately got so excited by that finish. I was clapping my hands as they crossed the line. You can see just a little bit of a nudge there. Nothing dirty. We're coming down for the win. They get back together, just a little bit of a rub and just a bumpers difference there as Brett Adams takes the win to open our season.
Absolutely textbook as Brett Adams burns it down. We're going to go to a short break here on GSRC, but do not go anywhere. We will have the unofficial results as well as a couple interviews for you. You don't want to miss this. Welcome back to the PRL NASCAR Truck Series, sponsored by WEBB Hearing Centers here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway for round one. And wow, did we just witness an amazing race. Brett Adams is going to take it over Daniel Knight with a photo finish coming to the line. He moves him out of 3 and 4 and gets the win. Patrick Cowgill coming ahead just about half a truck of John LaBaffe, who finishes in 4th. Thomas Sink unable to close in, but is able to recover from 30th after that spin mid-race up to 5th position. Charles Sumner coming home in the 6th spot with Austin Hunter in 7th. Can't quite get ahead of Charles at the end of that race. Michael Lemieux able to move up 2 spots after that late restart, with Richard Regan Jr. falling down to 9th with his truck damage. And we have Danny Cervantes, who's going to finish out that top 10.
Jose Medina just outside of the top 10 in 11th with Greg Corzin in 12th. Brandon Walter in the lucky 13th spot with Paul Williams and Doug Evans completing your top 15. Matthew Kulhanek in 16th with Christopher Williams, Adam Zemke, Adam Shane, and Colton Lane completing your top 20.
And that's going to be Nicholas Schwartz. Stacy Hunter in 21st with Nicholas Schwartz in 22nd. Doyle Lawrence is going to be 23rd tonight with Mark Kalin in 24th. Brandon Sauls had some damage on the opening laps of that last restart, drops down to 25th with Bradley Hawley starting off in 2nd on that last restart, drops down to 26th. Nicholas Hunter in 27th. And now we run into the truckers that had a lot of trouble tonight. Brendan Chatley, Paul Johnson, and Ryan Traver. And you'll see the rest of the results scrolling by on your screen. All of these drivers having some major trouble tonight, but we're going to talk to our winner tonight, Brett Adams. Brett, you got the job done. You moved him out just a little bit and got the job done. Talk to me about those closing laps trying to beat Daniel Knight.
Adam, the connection's pretty bad, yeah, man. But that last lap was insane. This is my 4th season in PRL, first win. Pretty awesome.
Fantastic stuff from you tonight. You seem to be sitting around the 5th position quite a bit tonight. Were you saving tires and waiting for the end, or was that all you had on those longer runs?
I saw that we were running about 20 laps every time, and so on that last stint, I saved for the last 10 laps there, and then on that final restart, I hung back with 2 to go, and then coming into the final turn with 1 to go, I just punched it, and I had the momentum, got on the inside, and it felt like Daniel and I were going door to door all the way right there to the line, so it was pretty awesome.
Fantastic stuff for you for sure. And is this something that you're hoping to repeat in coming rounds, or do you think that this was a one-off? And how are your team feeling about this win?
Adam, the connection's pretty bad, but I want to just shout out some thanks. Thanks to my wife Lindsay, who watches every week while watching our 3 kids. To my brothers Blaine and Brandon, part of Adam's Family Racing. To our sponsors, Spirit Ride North Carolina and Banner Elk North Carolina. And big thanks to you guys for putting on a good show.
Well, there you go. Brett Adams, our winner tonight. He came home just having moved Daniel Knight. Daniel Knight has caught up with Chris Phoebe. He finished in second.
Well, Daniel, great run tonight. This race had a little bit of everything for us here. Tell us about that move there with Daniel Knight in the lap truck, or excuse me, with Bradley Holly in the lap truck.
Yeah, this is a wild first race for us. Yeah, I genuinely wasn't trying. I figured Brad could see from a mile away that that's exactly what I was going to do to him. So I was hoping just to make him lift, just because you can get runs all day, but it's so hard to complete the pass. I just wanted to force him to tuck in behind me, but I should have known better. Knowing Brad, I should have known he wasn't going to lift, but definitely wasn't my intention. I just saw an opportunity and tried to take it.
Now, tell us about that finish coming down to the line. Brett got you by just a little bit. Looked like a great race, but tell us about that finish.
Yeah, I honestly wasn't sure how the truck was going to handle after all this stuff from the wreck with Bradley, and I got a good lead out there. Then I saw him kind of creeping back up on the last lap, and down the backstretch, I just was going to kind of go where he wasn't and not let him draft, and he had a better run coming in the corner than I thought he did, and then it was just a drag race. But that's awesome though. Congrats to Brett. He and his brother are great guys to race with, and I'm happy to see him get his first win here.
All right, Daniel, who do you want to thank that's going to help make this season possible for you?
All the riding shotgun guys as normal. We've got a new teammate, Ryan Traver, so welcoming him. And September is Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, which is something that's touched his family. So we just wanted to do a pediatric cancer scheme for this race, and probably actually going to race it for the rest of the season just to welcome him to the team and show support. So just glad to have him with us.
Thanks for joining us, Daniel. Congratulations on another good run.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to be talking to Patrick Cowgill, who came in third tonight. Patrick, fantastic race today. You made it up 23 positions from 26 on the grid to third. Talk to me about how you did that.
I can tell you it was really hard. There were a lot of fast guys out there, and I am surprised I even managed to get up to the front after that qualifying run that I ran.
And how did you dodge all of the wrecks, the ones that brought out the cautions and the ones that didn't today? Because it seemed like there were a lot of trucks in the middle of the track tonight.
Pure luck.
Yeah, you did a fantastic job clawing your way up forward, and as you were up there battling in those top positions, did you think you had a shot at the win at the end, or were you just looking on at those 2 guys battling up ahead of you?
Well, after that incident with Colton, which again, I apologize to you, Colton, if you're watching, I had damage on the front, and so I honestly didn't think I had enough power to get up there to the lead and win the race. So
absolutely. And when that final caution flew and you were looking at yourself up there in those top positions, who do you think was your biggest challenge, and who are you glad you finished ahead of tonight?
That's a hard one to answer. All those guys were a pretty good challenge.
Yeah, no problem, man. But Patrick, great finish tonight. Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Well, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Whiteman, that's where I work at, and Ballard Sewer Cleaning, one of a good friend of mine. I'd also like to thank my teammates, Ballistic Union, and you guys for putting on the broadcast, and the league for hosting the races.
Well, fantastic finish, Patrick, and we look forward to seeing more of you up here in the booth.
very much.
All right, that was Patrick Cowgill, our third place finisher. And that's going to do us for tonight. What a fantastic race we had today. We want to give a big thank you to the Precision Racing League for bringing us on for another season, and a big thank you to their season sponsor, WEBB Hearing Centers. Make sure to visit them at the link in the description. And also to ButtKicker for sponsoring the entire league this season. They did a great job. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. As always, many thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our awesome music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team tonight, Chris, Sean, and Dougie. If you want to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find us at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. And if you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. The link is in the description below. If you want to see more racing action, hit that big red subscribe button as well so you don't miss a moment here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Next week is going to be Talladega. That's September 30th, 8:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have upcoming races for other series listed here on your screen, so go check them out and mark them down in your calendar. And don't go anywhere, because just in about 10 minutes, we've got another race lined up here for you. That's Lionheart. Not Lionheart. Oh, yes, it is Lionheart. Lionheart IndyCar. They have some fantastic racing going on at Chicagoland tonight, so you don't want to miss that. But until then, we hope you've enjoyed joining us for the race tonight as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. And we hope to see you back on our channel soon. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.